Hi everybody, how you doing? Okay. So as you know, the Moscow Police Department, the prosecution, they have released the probable cause affidavit. I am going to go through it with you page by page. This will be a lengthy video. I'll be showing some pictures for those of you who don't have access to it. So you're going to kind of bear with me, okay? So let me go through this with you as we read. And this is going to kind of put the story together for many of us, um, because we've been waiting for this. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it's Exhibit A, statement by Bryan Payne. And just to let you know, Bryan Payne is the lead investigator um, in this case. And he's 32. He's a veteran. He seems to be like a very sharp guy. So as we go, here we go. Okay, the below information is provided by Bryan Payne, who is a duly appointed, qualified, and acting peace officer within the Latah State in the county of Latah, state of Idaho. Bryan Payne is employed by Moscow Police Department in the official capacity of position of corporal, and has been a trained and qualified peace officer for approximately 4 years. Payne is being assisted by members of the Idaho State Police and agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. On November 13th, 2022, at approximately 4 p.m., Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker and I responded to 112 King Road. So when that's Bryan Payne writing this and talking to us, saying that he responded to, that's the next day, November 13th, Sergeant Blake and him responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereafter the King Road residence, to assist with the scene, security, and processing of a crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Upon our arrival, the Idaho State Police forensic team was on the scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. Moscow Police Department officer Smith, so I believe that he was the officer on duty guiding Brett. One of Smith was one of the initial responding officers to the incident, advised he would walk me through the scene. So Officer Smith is going to be walking Bryan Payne, who's the lead investigator, now through the scene as they arrive onto it. Now, that call that we all know came in about 11-ish, 11, close to noon. One of the roommates had called the police. They're now getting there about 4 p.m. that day. Okay, just to paint a picture. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor down the north side of the building. Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned through Xana's driver's license and her personal belongings found in that room, was Xana Kernoodle, or Xana Kernoodle's room. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Okay. So a lot of the pictures have been taken down. Let me go back here and show you. So the second floor, here's the first floor diagram. So what they are is they came up here and he showed them this room right here, bedroom C. This is the second floor. That's where the officers went when they're talking about this right now. Okay. He said, Chris took me down the west second floor, which I just showed you, her room. Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Xana Kernoodle's room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body later identified as Kernoodle's laying on the floor. Kernoodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room was a male identified as Ethan Chapin. Chapin was also deceased with wounds that later determined that autopsy report provided by the Spokane County Medical Examiner that was done on December 15, 2022 to be caused by a short force injuries. Okay. Okay, so just before we go, and everybody does know the story, he walked, here's the bathroom, and they walked into the room. So Xana and Chapin, unfortunately, were somewhere in this room. Here we go back to the article. Okay, I then followed Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined as Kaylee Gonsalves' room. I later learned from the review of the Officer Nunez body camera. There was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Gonsalves and her ex-boyfriend, Jack Tukur. I found out from my interview with Jack Tukur on November 13, 2022, that he and Gonsalves had shared a dog. Officer Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. The bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. Okay, let me show you that real quick. I'm just giving everybody a review to go back so we can remember. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I have some more pictures here. Okay, so that was Kaylee's room. That's where the dog was. When they came out, they said that the dog was in a room where there had been no crime committed. And then if you go down there, that's where the stairs would be. And that's her slider door out. And here's the third floor. So they went upstairs and they went in. Here's the bathroom. This is Kaylee's room. You go through the hallway and then you go through, that's Madison's bedroom right there on the third floor. Okay, went to Madison Mogan's room, which was on the southeast corner of the third floor, which I just showed you in the diagram. As I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Gonsalves and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. when I viewed from the door. The sheath was later processed and had K-bar USMC and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA suspect profile left on the button snap of the knife sheath. Okay, so he left an article. He left, let's go over that again. He left the knife sheath, and that's a cover of a knife. That's a cover that you put your knife into. So as he entered the bedroom, he could see two females in a single bed in the room. Both Gonsalves and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed that appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. So let's go look at that. Here we go. I'm going to show you right here. Right here. Right here. This is what I found on the internet. This is not the actual one at all. This is something similar or like, possibly, I don't know, but it's a K-bar knife sheath. So this is the covering. This is, they must have found something similar or like, perhaps, I don't know, laying on Madison Mogan's right side. That's really big. That's big. That's something very big to leave behind. Okay, again, as I entered the room, this is again Smith guiding Payne. As I entered the room, I could see two females in a single bedroom. Both Gonzalez and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what to appear to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side when viewed from the door. Sonny was standing through the door. They must have had that twin bed there, and she was on the right side. The sheath was later processed, as I read before, and they found the Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA. So they found his DNA on the sheath. Suspect profile left on the button snap of the knife sheath. And those button snaps are probably slippery, I'm assuming, as we go on. As part of the investigation, numerous interviews were conducted by Moscow Police Department officers and Idaho State Police detectives and FBI agents. Two of the interviews included BF, and these are the two roommates that we're going to be talking about. And BF is Bethany Funk, I believe her name is, and the DM stands for Dylan Mortensen. Okay, so what they're saying is they interviewed the two roommates that were alive, that lived, and they're saying BF and DM, both BF and DM were inside a King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. Bethany, and when we go through and it says BF or DM, I'm going to say their name. Bethany's bedroom was located on the east side of the first floor of the King Road residence. So that means that Bethany, she was downstairs. Okay, we both thought that both of the roommates were downstairs, but they weren't, surprisingly. So Bethany was downstairs, and I'm going to show you in a minute. Based on numerous interviews conducted by the Moscow Police Department and Idaho State Police detectives and FBI agents, as well as my interviews of evidence, I have learned the following. On the evening of November 12th, 2022, Chapin and Kernoodle are seen by Bethany at the Sigma Chi House on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Percy Drive from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. On November 13th, Bethany also estimated that at approximately 1:45 a.m., Chapin and Kernoodle, that's Ethan and Xana, returned to the King Road residence. Bethany also stated that Ethan did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Xana's. Okay, and it's going to say Gonzalez and Mogan, and I'm going to change it up to Kaylee and Madison. Kaylee and Madison were at a local bar, the Corner Club at 202 North Main Street in Moscow. Kaylee and Madison can be seen on the video footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th at approximately 1:30 a.m. Kaylee and Madison can be seen on video at a local food vendor called the Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street in downtown Moscow. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. This video is captured by law enforcement, a private party blank. It's been redacted for privacy. Reported that he provided a ride to Kaylee and Madison at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow, which picking him up in front of the Grub Truck to King Road residence. Dylan and Bethany both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Xana, who received DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement has identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Dylan stated she originally went to sleep in her room on the southeast side of the second floor. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Okay. I'm going to show you where, because everybody has been thinking that that they were we thought they were all downstairs. Let's go back to that. So she was here. Dylan was on the second floor, and this bedroom, it isn't directly below Madison's, because you can see that the first and the second floor are stacked on the house, and then the third part is kind of built separate. So let's see. And this is okay, and let me go back to the first floor, because that's where Bethany was. She was in one of these bedrooms. So she was the only one downstairs. So all the action on the second floor, unfortunately, Dylan was in her room, and Xana and Ethan were over here. Okay, let me continue. I know it's kind of lengthy, but this is really important information. Okay, so Dylan stated that she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. As I just showed you, she was on the second floor. It's kind of underneath Maddie's, but because the building only stacks on top of each other, that third part hangs over. So it was kind of that building kind of edged where her room was. So Dylan stated that she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Kaylee playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, Dylan said she heard who she thought was Kaylee saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of the records obtained from the forensic download of Xana's phone showed this could have been Xana, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. Dylan stated she looked out of her bedroom. She looked out of her bedroom, but did not see anything. So when she says she looked out of her bedroom, I don't know if that was a window or the door. I'm assuming that's maybe the door. She said she didn't see anything. She heard the comment about something being in the house. Dylan stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying from Xana's room. Dylan then said she heard a male voice saying something to the effect, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 112 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what like voices, a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. So they said a dog. So I don't know if that was Murphy or another dog. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Xana's bedroom. Dylan stated she opened the door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothes and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards Dylan. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. That's interesting, bushy eyebrows. The male walked past Dylan as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. Dylan locked herself in her room. Okay, I'm going to go to some floor plans to refresh our memories here. Dylan stated that she opened her door. Again, she's on the second floor, and she saw a figure clad in black clothing and mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built, but with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past Dylan as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards her, towards the back sliding glass door. Okay, here we go. Let's go look at that. Okay, so I'm going to show you the reality of the photos here. Here's the kitchen. So he walked this way toward the, if you're standing in their house looking in their kitchen at the sliding glass door, this is what you would see. So he came out this way and her bedroom door's right there. So he walked out these doors. So he went out these doors. You can see right here, he went out these doors. Okay. Okay. Let's look at this. Okay. So here's the second floor. So she was in this room and she heard him. So she opened her door, and it doesn't really tell us where she saw him, whether he was here or in the kitchen. We don't really know. But he walked past her. So he was either coming down the stairs and past her, or he was in here. She must have been in the doorway here. He walked past her and he went out the door. He went out the kitchen door, because this is the second floor. So here would be the door. I know this is long, but we have to break this down because this has all the detail. Okay. Yeah, she stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male past walked past Dylan as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the backsliding. Okay, so he just passed her, sounds like through the door, went through those back doors. Dylan locked herself in her room. After seeing the male, Dylan did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. The combination of Dylan's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from Bethany and Dylan, phone and video of the suspect video as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP, that's the Idaho State Police Forensic Team, by first using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern, similar to the pattern of a Vans-type shoe sole. Just outside the door of Dylan's bedroom, located on the second floor, this is consistent with Dylan's statement regarding the suspect path of travel. As a part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred to in law enforcement as video canvass, was conducted in the area of King Road residents. This video canvass was to obtain any footage from the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022 in the area of King Road residents and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspects or suspects' vehicle traveling to or leaving from the King Road residence. This video canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business areas. I have received numerous, and we're still talking about Bryan Payne. I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have been, and he's a lead investigator. I have reviewed numerous videos and were collected and have had conversations with other Moscow Police Department officers and the Idaho State Police detectives and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. A review of a camera footage indicating a white sedan, hereafter suspect vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. On this video, it appeared suspect vehicle that the suspect's vehicle was not displaying a front license plate. A review of footage of multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of the suspect vehicle starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show suspect's vehicle makes an initial 3 passes by the 1122 King Road residence and then leave via Walenta Drive. Based off my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with very limited number of vehicles that travel in this area during those early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during this time frame. The suspect's vehicle can be seen entering the area a fourth time, approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road. When the suspect's vehicle is in front of the King Road resident, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again down Queen Road. So he was nervous, he was lost, trying to figure it out. Suspect vehicle is next seen departing the area of King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. at a high rate speed. Suspect's vehicle is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. Based on my knowledge of the area and review of the camera footage in the neighborhood, that does not show suspect vehicle during the time frame. I believe that the suspect vehicle is likely exited the neighborhood at Palusa River Drive and Conestoga Drive. I think Palouse Road, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Drive, is at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is approximately 10 miles from Moscow. Okay, so I'm going to show you something. Okay, do you see this map? Here's 1122 King Road. So and here's Taylor. Okay. And this right here is Walenta. You guys can see this on any Google map. So this road travels behind their house. Okay. So he probably went up to Walenta this way. And then here is that Conestoga Drive right here. And if you follow it, then he can connect right here onto Palouse. That's the road I believe that they're talking about, because then he can get onto 95 and head where he needs to go. And you guys can pull that up yourself. But from what we just read and what he described, that's what they believe perhaps the suspect did. Okay, so it's approximately 10 miles. So it appears to left the back of the house. Walenta to Conestoga to Palouse, and then probably home. Okay. Approximately 10 miles, Moscow, Idaho. Both Pullman and Moscow are small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of the suspect's vehicle to forensic examiners to the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years of law enforcement experience, with 12 years at the FBI. His specific training includes identifying unique characteristics of vehicles, and he uses a database that gives visual clues of vehicles across the state to identify differences between vehicles. After reviewing numerous observation of the suspect's vehicle, the forensic examiner initially believed that the suspect's vehicle was a 2011 13 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could be a 2011 2016 Hyundai Elantra. As a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011 2016 white Hyundai Elantra. Now, this is my own commentary. I'm interjecting now. It's good that they found an older Elantra, because it's my understanding that 2011s and 13s didn't have GPS, meaning a possible tracking on the car. So if they have a 2015 now or newer, then they would have some type of tracking on that car. Possibly, which would help the investigators. Investigators were given access to a video footage on Washington State University, WSU campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as the suspect vehicle, was observed in Washington State University surveillance cameras traveling north on the southeast Nevada Street and Northeast Stadium Way. At approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as a suspect vehicle, was observed traveling southeast on the Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington towards SR 270. SR 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This camera's footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman, Washington as being a 2014-2016 Hyundai Elantra. Approximately at 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of suspect's vehicle, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington, and on Washington State University campus cameras. The first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at the 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to the West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive, which is the map I just showed you. The white sedan was then observed running north on Bishop Boulevard and northwest on SR 270. At approximately 5:27 a.m., the white Elantra was observed on cameras traveling northbound on Stadium Way at Nevada Street, Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Stadium Drive at Wilson Road, and Stadium Way at Cougar Way. And then description showing Moscow to Pullman. This is a black and white copy, and you guys can go and type in Bryan Kohberger's affidavit online in a PDF. That's what I'm reading now, and you can better see this. It's kind of hard to see. Description showing the white Elantra path of travel, not to scale. And then here's the other, must be that. It's hard because it's black and white. On November 25th, 2022, Moscow PD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for a white Elantra in the area. On November 29th, 2022, at approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Daniel Tiengo queried white Elantras registered at Washington State University. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with Pennsylvania license plates. And here's the number. This vehicle was registered to Bryan Kohberger, residing at his address, Valley Road, apartment 201, Pullman, Washington, 1630, and that's his address. It's approximately 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way, the last camera location that picked up the white Elantra. The same day at approximately 12:58 a.m., Washington State University Curtis Whitman was looking for a white Hyundai Elantra and located a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman in the parking lot at 1630 Northeast Valley Road is an apartment complex that houses Washington State University students. Officer Whitman also ran the car and it returned Whitman also ran the car and it also returned to Kohber with a Washington tag. I reviewed Kohber's Washington State driver's license information and photograph. The license indicates that Kohber is a white male with the height of 6 feet and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohber shows that he has bushy eyebrows. Kohber's physical description is consistent with the description of Dylan saw inside the King Road residence on November 13th. Further investigations, including a review of Latah County Sheriff's Deputy CPI Duke's body cam and report, showed that on August 21st, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as a part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho by CPL Duke. At that time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates, which was set to expire November 30th, 2022. During the stop, which was recorded via a law enforcement body camera, Kohberger provided his phone number as, and it's redacted, as phone, his cellular telephone number. Investigators conducted electronic database queries and learned that this 8458, those are the last four digits of the number, is the number issued by AT&T. Is a number issued by AT&T. On October 4th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as a part of the traffic stop by a Washington State University police officer. Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate. On November 18th, 2022, according to the Washington State licensing, Kohberger registered the 2015 white Elantra with Washington and later received Washington plate. There's the number. Prior to this time, the 2000 Fiat Elantra was registered to Pennsylvania, which does not require a front license plate to be displayed. This was learned through communications with Pennsylvania officer who is currently certified in the state of Pennsylvania. Based on my own experience, so this is based on, I want to remember that this is Bryan Payne who's putting this together. Based on my own experience and communication with Washington law enforcement, I know that Idaho and Washington require front and back license plate to be displayed. Investigators believe that Kohberger is still driving the 2015 white Elantra because his vehicle was captured on December 13th, 2022 by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. Information provided by query to a database. Kohberger's Elantra was then queried on December 15, 2022 by law enforcement in Hancock County, Indiana. On December 16, 2022 at approximately 20:26 p.m., surveillance video showed Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The sole occupant of the vehicle was a white male whose description was consistent with Kohberger. Kohberger has a family in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, learned through the TLO search and locate tool database query. Based on information provided on the Washington State University website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department. We learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also show Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in the public safety operations. Kohberger also posted on Reddit survey, which can be found by an open source internet search. The survey asked the participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decisions making when committing a crime. A part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity of King Road residents on November 13, 2022, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. After determining that Kohberger was associated with both the 2015 white Elantra and the 8458 phone, investigators reviewed these search warrant returns. A query of the 8458 phone in these returns did not show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular tower research in close proximity to the King Road residents between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Based on my training experience and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as a part of the investigation, individuals can either leave their cellular telephone at a different location before committing a crime or return their cellular telephone off prior to going to the location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that the cellular device associated with them was in a particular area where a crime is committed. Okay, so he didn't bring his phone. So he either turned it off before he got there or he left it at home. Interesting. And I'm conjecting. This is my own projection here. Okay, as we continue. I also know, and again, I also is Brett Payne. Also know that a numerous occasions subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. Depending on the circumstances, this could be done a few days before or several months prior to the commission of a crime. During these types of surveillance, it is possible that an individual would not leave their cellular telephone at a separate location or turn it off since they do not plan to commit the offense on that particular day. On December 23rd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th, 2022 at 12 a.m. and November 14th at 12 a.m. for the 8458 phone number held by the phone provider AT&T, approximately 24 hours preceding the times of the homicide. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, I received records for the 8458 phone from AT&T. These records indicated that the 8458 phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at the address in Albright, Pennsylvania, and the account has been open since June 23rd, 2022. These records also indicate these records also included historical cell site location information for the 8458 phone. After receiving this information, I consulted with an FBI agent that is certified as a member of the Cellular Analysis Survey Team. Members of CAST, that's what they call it for short, Cellular Analyst Survey Team, as a member of CAST, are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical and are required to pass extensive training that include both written and practical examinations. Practical examinations prior to being certified as CAST, as well as the completion of yearly certification requirements. Additionally, the FBI CAST that I consulted with has over 15 years of federal law enforcement experience, which includes 6 years with the FBI from information provided by CAST. I was able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from November 12th, 2022, November 13th, 2020, the time period authorized by the court. On November 13th, 2022, at approximately 2:42 a.m., 8458 phone was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to 1630 Northwest Valley Road, apartment 202 in Pullman, Washington, Kohberger's residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 848 phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage southeast of the Kohberger's residence, consistent with 8458 phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. At approximately 2:47 a.m., 8458 phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in the area without cellular coverage. Okay, so that means from what they're saying that he sounds like he turned it off. My conjecture. The connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode or that the phone is turned off. The 8458 phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to ID State Highway 95 south of Moscow ID near Blaine, north of Genesee, between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m. The phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling south on the ID State Highway 95, then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then north back into Pullman, Washington at approximately 5:30 a.m. The 8458 phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to Kohberger's residence. So it sounds like he turned it off and then he turned it back on as he was getting close to his home, but it sounds like he turned it off as he's getting close to King. The 8458 phone's movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that observed traveling north on the Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. So now you have cameras that are with the movement of the car and the time that it's placing it, and then they're lining up with the phone, even not with him perhaps, and the on and off, it comes together. Based on the review of the 8458 phone estimated locations and travel, the 8458 phone travels is consistent with that of the white Elantra. Further review indicated that the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13, 2022 that are consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the area of Kohberger's residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. The 8458 phone next utilized cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling back to the area of Kohberger residence and arriving to the area at approximately 9:32 a.m. Below is a description, not a scale, of the possible route taken based on the cellular site locations. Okay, so again, it's hard to do this because it's black and white. It's on a PDF, so you can go look at this online if you want to see how they mapped it. You can see the map. Investigators found that the 8458 phone did connect to the cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14, 2022, but investigators did not believe that 8458 phone was in Moscow on that date. The 8458 phone has not connected to any towers that provided service to Moscow since that date. Based on my training, experience, and the facts of the investigations thus far, I believe that Kohberger, the user of the 8458 phone, was likely the driver of the white Elantra that observed departing Pullman, Washington, and that this vehicle is likely suspect vehicle. Additionally, the route of travel of the 8458 phone during the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, and the lack of the 8458 phone reporting to the AT&T tower between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide that occurred at the King Road residence. On December 23, 2022, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI, historical phone records from June 23rd, 2022 to current prospective location information and pen register, trap and trace on the 8458 phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case prior to the offense, conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, was not in contact with any of the victims' associates before or after the alleged offense. Any locations that may contain evidence of the murders of the murders that occurred on November 13, 2022, the location of the white Elantra registered to Kohberger as well as the location. Okay, so he wasn't. Let's read that again. On December 22nd, he filed for historical back records from June 23rd, 2022 to current to now, prospective location information and pen register. It's trap and trace on the 8458 phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case prior to the offense. Conducted surveillance on the King Road residence. Conducted road residence was in contact with any of the victim's associates before or after the alleged offense. Any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13, 2022, the location of the white Elantra registered to Kohberger as well as a known location. Okay, so I read that wrong. So he's just stating that they were looking. So let's keep reading. On December 23rd, 2020, pursuant to the search warrant, I received historical records for 8458 phone that AT&T from the time the account was open on June 20th, 22 after consulting with CAST. That's the top FBI people that do digital forensic, was able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from June 22nd to present, the time period authorized by the court. The records for the 8458 phone show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to the area of 112 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13, 2022. Okay, that line right there. So up here, I read that he got historical, and I corrected myself, just if you're following me. So down here, they did. So they did find records for that 8458 phone show, that 8458 phone utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to the area of 112 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13, 2022. All these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. On these occasions, on October 21st, 2022, 8458 phone utilized cellular resources providing coverage to the King Road residents from approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. So he was watching them. He was monitoring them. At approximately 11:30 p.m., Kohberger was stopped by Latah County Sheriff's Deputy CPI Duke has mentioned above. That 8548 phone was utilizing cellular resources consistent with the location of a traffic stop during this time, Farm Road and Pullman Highway. Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed that phone number 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13, 2022, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via US Highway 95, I-95 at approximately 12:36 p.m. The 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand located at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage from the U.S. Chef's store located 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, and adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe showed a white Elantra consistent with suspect's vehicle drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at the time, consistent with the cellular data from the 8548 phone. At approximately 12:66 p.m., the 8458 phone then utilized cellular data in the area of the Albertsons grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage obtained from the Albertsons showed Kohberger's exit the white Elantra consistent with the suspect's vehicle. Approximately 12:49 p.m. Interior surveillance cameras showed Kohberger walking through the store, purchasing unknown items at the checkout, and then leave at approximately 1:04 p.m. Kohberger possible path of travel is depicted below. This is not a scale. So again, you'll have to go look at this yourself because it's grainy and it's kind of hard. 2 more pages, everybody. Hold in there. Additional analysis of the records for the 8458 phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The 8458 phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That is consistent with the 8458 phone being the area that the 8458 phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time the homicides occurred. On December 27, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from Kohberger's family residence located in Albrights, Pennsylvania. The evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. On December 28, 2022, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath, and that's the cover of the knife, identified a male was not being excluded as the biological father of the suspect profile, at least a 99.9998%. So that's close to 100 of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. Based on the above information, I am requesting an arrest warrant to be issued to Bryan C. Kohberger, date of birth 11/21/1994, for burglary at 1122 King Street in Moscow, Idaho, for 4 counts of murder in the first degree for the murders of Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Carnoodle, and Ethan Chapin. I declare under perjury and persuasion of the law of the state of Idaho that the foregoing is true and correct. And he signed that on the 29th. And that is, we can give our handout and their whole team for Bryan Payne, the elite investigator in Moscow. All right, everybody, there you have it. You can go back and listen to this, or you can go look it up on Google. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I know this was a long video, but there's a lot of information that we didn't think about. And it sounds like they've done a great job. And I'm really proud because ultimately we need justification. We need justice for these poor students, for these people and their families. This is horrible that this happened to them, and we need to keep praying. And you know, court's coming. That's probably going to be a year or two, but we'll see. We'll keep following it. Anyway, this is Madison's Justice Quest signing out. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like and subscribe.